Going live. Stomach is bubbling.
Hey everybody, welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up guys? Jouban here.
Did you see any good fights this weekend?
None. No fight. They had fights this weekend?
Yeah.
I mean, where were you by the way?
I went to the movies.
Little town?
Yeah. I didn't even see the fights. Yeah.
Huge fights.
Yeah,
awesome fights.
Kind of crazy.
Probably some of the best we've seen in quite a while.
I would think so. So obviously plenty to talk about. Yes, Wade and I were in New York, and so we've got some, lots of footage and things from backstage, and he was able to get, a lot of the people did backstage interviews and stuff too before the press conference and all that. But I don't even...
Where to begin?
Exactly. Did you have a favorite? We'll start with your favorite of the night. So what was your favorite? Or maybe favorite's not the right word. What was your biggest, what got to you the most?
Man, biggest moment of the night. It's tough because the card in its entirety was so good.
Right.
It's something about New York. You know what I mean? You love New York. You always talk about it.
I do.
But something about being at Madison Square Garden, it's like it's the energy is a little more electric.
Right, because you were there last year as almost got to fight Cowboy.
Yeah, but I was in the stands for 205.
Yeah.
And it's got an energy about it, just being in the middle of the city like that. And this card was one that had the names, but they don't always deliver. This card delivered. But my best moment of it would have to come out of one of those 3 title fights. I think, to me, the most exciting one, though, would have to be the TJ Cody. That might be the obvious answer for a lot of people.
Okay.
But just... It was a back and forth fight, and that's what I really liked about it. Garbrandt looked so strong and so fast early. I thought TJ might have bitten off a little more than he could chew, but then he kept coming through with those. You know what's crazy about that fight? We're gonna get into all these. But
exactly.
I don't even know where to begin. There's so many good fights.
Yeah, I don't even either.
But for that fight in particular, if we're gonna talk about that fight. Early in that fight, we saw TJ throwing nothing but kicks. It's like he wanted to be the kicker and keep him at range. Cody was a puncher. And none of his kicks were landing.
I was just going to say, it was a swing and a miss.
A swing and a miss every time.
A lot, right.
TJ kept throwing that low leg kick and missing and missing and missing. And sometimes if you're a kicker, because I'm a kicker, I know my game. If I'm missing, it's almost like striking out when you're at plate. It kind of messes with your confidence. Even if you're just landing with a foot not doing damage, at least you're hitting the target. You're inching closer. TJ was starting to miss, and it was having me worried. What is he going to do? Is he going to try to play this kicking game and keep missing and not finding his range, or is he gonna get in closer and throw some punches and mix it up more?
Well, he obviously had to find his range, and we know that Cody was going to have really good footwork and everything. Yeah. But I thought the same thing. Like, how exhausting would that be to keep missing like that? Because
you have to recover. Once you miss, you have to recover. It is more energy every time.
Yeah, but I also like the idea that he was doing more than just, a lot of people just, is he just going to try to take him down? We know how the way that he had beaten Barao, where he really was able to light him up against the cage, but I wasn't really sure necessarily what TJ's game plan was going to be. I expected takedowns to be part of it or whatever, but going into the fight, it's interesting because we saw TJ and Michael at a media lunch on the Monday before, and TJ seemed so calm, and he always has seemed calm, I've done a few sort of like UFC events and things with TJ, and he's always seemed like really cool. I've always gotten on with him really well. And going into this fight, I actually thought I was really thinking he was going to do very well. And all week though, Kenny, DC, everybody, they were all picking Cody. And I'm sitting there and I was like, in my mind I had really thought, I don't know, I just thought TJ just was putting stuff together, but I didn't really know. And then the closer it got, and I'm hearing these guys talk, and they're convincing me that TJ doesn't really have a chance in there. Not that he didn't have a chance. Maybe
this is with DC. And
yeah. I'm overstating it, saying he didn't have a chance, but they were so committed to Cody winning. So then I was sort of thinking about and I guess I thought about more of the things that Cody does so well. And then when he did drop him in the end of the first round, you're like, oh no, it
looked bad.
Yeah, and I honestly didn't really have a dog in the fight, so I shouldn't say oh no or oh yay. Yeah. I honestly really didn't pick sides in this.
Yeah, me neither.
But when he got dropped at the end of the first, I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. I felt like TJ had so much more to gain from a win after being called every single name in the book and cast out and really being put in the position of the bad guy. I thought oh, that's going to be hard to recover from professionally if you lose this fight. But then he turned around and he won it in the second round. I did. It was like the I mean, because I've joked that like how many times we said that night. I was amazed. I was amazed he actually got him like that.
Me too, because the crazy thing about this fight was, as we just spoke about, TJ was missing. I mean, he must have went 0 for 10 in the beginning of the fight with the kicks. And then with that said, when he knocked him out, what was the second round?
Yeah.
It started with the kick. He landed that head kick, which wobbled him, and that was kind of what got his rhythm and got him to start landing more. But it was that lead kick, that lead head kick that landed that Cody just didn't see coming, or I think he just brought his guard up a little bit too low, stumbled him back, and from there, that's what got Cody's TJ's confidence higher, and then the kick set it up, and then it was kind of crazy that the punches would finish it when he wasn't throwing any punches. And Cody seemed to be, if you're watching this fight, within about 30 seconds, I'm thinking, man, Cody's way faster than TJ. Were you thinking the same thing?
I thought they were incredibly fast. I don't know if I guess he was faster, and I do remember there was that one part in the first. I remember when Cody started doing his thing again.
Yeah, he did
he did it, and I was like, might be a little too soon in the fight to do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like a little too soon. But
I think that's how he kind of hypes himself up. That's his Anderson Silva.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. So when you see him get playful like that, then that is like, oh snap, and then he dropped him. You know what I mean? So it is that whole thing where you feel like, Cody was getting in the zone and he was finding his whole thing. And I thought it was also interesting, maybe, did you hear where he said, I guess he said, you're not going to get out of the second round? He said that to TJ. Exactly. He said that to TJ. It was either you're not going to make it out of the second round or it's not going to end,
He was right.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, that's what everybody's saying, but I don't discount Cody for that. I like his confidence. And I was saying in the pre-fight show, that was the whole thing, is like, he did wear, the title well. I liked his swagger, and obviously he has a great ability to win the fight. The thing that was tricky was, or maybe tricky's not the right word, after the fight though, a lot of time the guys and ladies will be, well, you're a better man that night. You got it. He clearly, obviously, very, very upset by the loss, but has a little bit of a harder time, I think, giving TJ the credit that he deserves.
You can tell he's a prideful dude, man. I mean, he's prideful about himself. He sees himself, no pun intended, he sees himself as the alpha male. For sure. He wears that title well, not only being the champ, but the champion at alpha male. He's the guy that did it for alpha male. He's the guy that carries the torch for them. Losing to, of all people, TJ, I think it hurt him a lot inside, as any fight hurts you inside. But because of those reasons, because of the backstory that's going on, it was hard for him to watch. I'll be interested to see, there's that picture of TJ in his face just screaming, and they're like, and it was good. It's funny because I don't know TJ or Cody personally. I don't think I've ever met Cody. I've met TJ a couple times. Dude. Nice guy, cool guy. Good dudes. But there had to be some of TJ that he didn't even know what was going on. He was so emotional that beating Cody by that, that getting in his face and screaming, he was just like venting. He wanted to let it out. You know what I mean? That was getting him back at him for the throat grab on the Ultimate Fighter.
Throat grab, the
all that stuff. That was him just saying in your face. And then you saw when they interviewed him, Joe Rogan was like, what was said after the fight? Joe Rogan was alluding to, what did you guys say once you embraced and spoke? TJ just went right away. He was like, I was just yelling. He was almost like, I think he realized like that he did that, but didn't know what was happening in the moment. And I think it was just the release of all that. But it was such a great fight. Both men are great, and I agree with you. I had TJ picked for this fight. I picked him to win, so I was kind of going for him just to stand by my pick. But I didn't really have a dog in the fight. But I will say Cody did wear the champ throne well. Like, he was a guy that he's intense, and that's what you have to. You have to stand by. Love him or hate him, you have to take your route and stand by that way and go the direction. And Cody did that well. He represented his gym, alpha male, to the T. He represented himself as the best fighter in the world. This fearless guy that was like not scared of anyone or anything. And he got beat, but anybody could have won or lost that night. That's what we have to recognize. And to think about the fact that the guy went from unranked to champion in 2016, which is insane. And he was undefeated before the fight with TJ. Cody has been through a lot in his life, and he really is somebody who really speaks to the idea that martial arts can save your life and that you can turn a really negative
situation into something very, very positive. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of credit due to him. He was also mentioning that he's got a book that's going to be coming out.
Who, Cody?
Cody is, yeah. And so, you know, really that is something that I think he really wanted to show, is that, you know, with through martial arts and all that, you can believe in your, you know, you can find belief, you can find a purpose in life. And it is interesting too. That's one sort of thing that we were talking about before the fight, and I guess it didn't really play out this way because TJ won. But that was one sort of mindset question that we were talking about, that Cody has been in so many hard times and hard places in his life that if push came to shove, was he going to be mentally tougher than TJ? Do you know? It really, I guess, didn't play out because we didn't see, you know, a long fight, and we didn't see, you know, guys get really have to come back from a lot of trouble. You know, TJ at the end of that round was able to come back after that. But, you know, I just think it was interesting, that whole mindset thing, and that maybe TJ wasn't going to be as tough mentally because he didn't have a hard upbringing. Whatever it is that he went through in this whole course of this rivalry, TJ, I think, proved he is mentally strong enough to come through that and not get phased and distracted by it, because there was a lot going on, and both of these guys have babies on the way, and there was a lot of extra noise before this fight. I give them both credit for showing up and being as good as they were, and Cody had to come back from the back injury.
The one thing that I took away from this fight was great fight. You guys delivered for the fans. I loved watching this fight, the back and forth. TJ coming from adversity in the fight, getting rocked in the first round. But the one thing that I really took away from this fight was that this was anybody's fight, man. Like, yeah,
it really was.
It really was. I mean, it was. They both threw, I think, a 1, a 2-3 across hook. And then the only thing that was the difference is TJ threw 4 punches and Cody threw 3. It was after they both threw a hook or something like that. TJ came in with 1 more hook, and that's what landed, and that's what rocked him at the end and put him away. That's all it was. It was a difference in 1 punch. And I mean, it sounds, I know football's a game of inches, and same thing with fighting, but this was a closely contested fight. If these guys would fight 10 times, I really feel like it would be like 5-5. These guys are really evenly matched.
Well, it was. I was nervous for TJ though when he started to kind of get in the firefight a little bit more, because that's the kind of fight that Cody wins. Right. You know what I mean? And
although this one,
but it worked out this time.
It worked out this time, exactly. He won in the pocket in a firefight with the punches when I gave Cody the power and the speed advantage with the punches.
For sure. And Cody had said before the fight to TJ, he said, oh, you know, you can do all the strength and conditioning you want, but you can't condition your chin. And then, you know, he tested it, and then I was like, oh my God, TJ's chin is actually holding up. But I didn't know how much longer it was.
Yeah, you
do you know what I mean? Like, I thought that was really
risky. Fire.
Exactly. And maybe that was something he wanted to prove. You know, the way that Cody beat Dominic at Dominic's game, maybe TJ, you know, went in there with a little bit of a chip trying to beat Cody at his game. Do you want to see them immediately rematch, or do you want something? Because TJ said he really wants that fight with Mighty Mouse, and that he can make the weight. Or what would you do? What do you want to see? As a fan, what do you want to see?
I posed the question on Twitter right after the fight. I was like, man, that was such an impressive performance. Does the UFC want to see that rematch, since it was such a close fight, an exciting fight, or do they want to see bigger and better things when moving on to the Demetrius Johnson's fight? And the response I got back on Twitter, which is actually to me the correct answer, is Cody wasn't champion long enough. He didn't dominate the division long enough to deserve an immediate rematch.
I don't think so.
He's a great champion, but he won, was it 1 fight?
Yeah.
He didn't even defend it, right?
Right.
So TJ being a guy that got his title back now, Demetrius has already cleaned out his division. He's broke the title. This fight has been kind of somewhat in the making for a little while now. I think now it makes more sense than ever. I think even Dana White, I saw an interview for the first time, him saying, yeah, you know what, this is actually a really good idea.
Now it really matters.
Yeah, so I say he definitely do it. I don't think so I'm saying TJ versus DJ. Is it DJ? Yeah, TJ versus DJ. TJ versus DJ needs to happen.
I agree that there should not be an immediate rematch. Because I'm frankly tired of the alpha male versus TJ thing. Like I loved that fight. I think it was great. It's actually funny, you notice that TJ now his logo is Dillashaw with a snake. It's, you know what I mean? But I'm a little tired of that storyline.
And let Cody do the same thing as TJ. Go and beat all the top 3 or 4 contenders again. Get that momentum back and say, like, this is why I deserve the shot. Right now, people don't necessarily need to see it. I think the Demetrius Johnson fight is the more intriguing fight.
And or the winner of Dominic Cruz and Jimmy Rivera, because Dominic Cruz took the title from TJ Dillashaw, and the whole time that Dominic was champ, TJ was vehement that he had won that fight. So now we've got the love triangle. Exactly. So you know, Jimmy Rivera could be the sort of wrench in the works there if he wins. Not that I'm saying nobody wants to see that fight, but obviously there's so much more history if we got a Dominic. He's not as big of a name. Right, a Dominic TJ rematch. So I would like that, and or the Mighty Mouse fight. I would rather see Cody, get his mojo back with some other fights before he comes right back into that, because I think that storyline is kind of done now. And you know what? If I'm the UFC, I'm thinking not only does this fight have a little bit of backstory, the DJ fight, because they've been kind of talking about it for a while. DJ wanted to break the record first. It's been done, right? TJ didn't have the title at the time. Now he has it. Makes sense. And it makes me feel a lot more comfortable if I'm Dana White, having TJ say, you know what, I could easily make 125 or catch weight or something. He says he makes 135 very easily. So now I have even more confidence. Okay, this isn't going to be some kind of mess up where somebody's missing weight, or he's not going to come in and fight. These guys are both saying they can make this weight. It's the best time to do it. Make it happen. Yeah, I agree. So you said for you that was kind of your main thing. That was the one I was probably watching. I don't know if I'd say the closest, but man, that one probably had me up. And how about you, Karyn? Was it a different one? So my main event was Rose Namajunas versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Wait, do you have a new spirit animal now? Is that what's going on? Listen, here's the thing. Did you just jump ship? No. Joanna is still my spirit animal. Okay. This is for sure. She's still my spirit animal. But I have known Rose. We've known Rose now since like 2010, 9 or 10. First time we met Pat Barry was 2009. If you look back on our stuff, first interview we ever did with Pat was 2009. And so we've known Rose for years. Here's a picture of us. We've written. This is how they celebrate. They're keeping it a hot dog stand? And a gyro stand. This was outside the Fighter Hotel. There. Nice. This is after the fight. Yeah, on 7th Avenue. That was at about like 2:30 in the morning. Nice. After the press conference, because we were coming out of the arena, walking back to our hotel, and I'm like, I see the dog. I'm like, oh, that looks like Mishka, and it was. And so they were getting some food. But we have known Rose and Pat for quite some time now. So before she was ever even in the UFC, we would all like hang out and different stuff. And so I know how long this woman has been trying to reach this goal, and what she's been through, the ups and the downs. When she was on The Ultimate Fighter, she did so well in The Ultimate Fighter and went through there and cleaned it out. Like Gil and I would joke because Gilbert's team got pretty much smoked by Showtime on there, except for Rose. She was the only one, and there was a lot of pressure on her back then because she did so well on the show. And when she lost to Carla in the finals, whatever. I love her maturity now and all this. So for me, it was like, and I said this on Twitter too, for a lot of us, those are our two favorite female fighters. Do you know what I mean? And so when you see them have to fight each other, you're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. But at the same time, you don't want to see one of them lose, because you don't want to see one of them lose. A contrast of style or personalities, but both equally likable. For sure. And so for Rose, all through the week, she was so mellow, and we did UFC Tonight, and all the champs and challengers came on except for Rose, and there was sort of this understanding anyway, that message that, oh, she didn't really want to do press and da-da-da-da-da. Well, it turns out that's totally not true. So I was talking to her after the weigh-ins on Friday, called her up, and we were talking, and she, she's like, was really in the zone and all this. I guess my point, what I'm getting to is, I would have loved it to see Joanna break that record, and that woman is amazing and a phenomenon, and is still my spirit animal. I mean, come on, I love her. But to see Rose achieve the dream was really special to me, and I just thought all the things that happened, like you heard it, she got it at 3 minutes and 3 seconds. Her gym is the 303 gym. That's also the area code for Colorado. So there was like this weird stars aligning thing. And she's just such a great girl. Nobody expected her. If you thought she was going to win, you would have said Rose by sub, right? Nobody was going to say Rose by knockout. It was just incredible. I think Joanna will come back better than ever, and I think Rose is just wonderful, and I just am thrilled for her. Whenever you watch fights and you say, should have done this or could have done this, you never know, because if you win, then it was all, man, this guy's a genius for doing it. If you lose, you shouldn't have done this or done that. That will always be the case in sports, especially in combat sports, when there's only two people and you got to fight and anything can happen. But I will say, my gut instinct, I could not go against
both of our spirit.
I know. It's hard to guess.
But no,
it's hard to.
It's hard to go against Joanna. She's so charismatic and she's so flawless most of the time. Inside of the octagon, that as good as Rose looked, I just put Joanna on this pedestal, but she is the champ. She just defines what being the woman's champion is right now in the UFC. But something in my gut was telling me during fight week that she was almost playing the part too much, believing in herself too much as unbeatable, unbreakable. You know, she did the thing where she blew the kiss, and then
at the stare down.
She kept trying to get in Rose's head, and Rose was just ice cold, baby. You know, she just wasn't having it. She wasn't fighting back. She could have slapped her hand right there, but then that's giving into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of playing back, but she didn't want to play back. She said, "This is your character. Well, I'm going to show you my character, and I'm just ice cold. I got ice water in my veins," and she stayed in that the whole time. And something kept telling me, Karyn, that man, she is 100% focused on staying here, and she doesn't have any distractions where Joanna has distractions right now. She's kind of playing this character of I'm the champ and I'm kind of looking iced out and fresh, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to say some certain things. I'm going to cut the rose. She kept having
cutting the rose, and
she kept adding little punchlines and the boogeyman thing, the boogie woman.
The boogie woman is coming.
And as dumb as it sounds, those things take effort and energy to think of, and then before you go out on the scale, you and your cornerman are saying, "Hey, you do the boogie woman thing." You're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it. And so when I do it, I want you to do this." And this is little things that we do that just kind of take your focus away from one thing. And when you win, it's genius and it's perfect
because it worked.
But when you lose, it's kind of where was her focus lying? And I just feel like Rose was 100% locked in on nothing else but winning that title. Joanna had a few distractions, and it did cost her that night.
Now, are you thinking then, because obviously the immediate parallel was the Ronda Holly situation, and everybody immediately, especially since she was going to try to break Ronda's record, and a lot of people immediately made that comparison that Joanna got too cocky and this and that, and she didn't take Rose seriously. I disagree on the not taking Rose seriously thing, because the woman did a 13-week camp. See, so I think it's actually the other thing, it's that she did know what a threat she was going to be. She has to do this camp, but she is so intense. She really wanted to break that record. She's an incredible athlete, an incredible professional, and I feel like, if anything, maybe what she was doing, if it seemed like overcompensation, what if Joanna actually was a little bit worried about it? Do you know what I mean? Maybe she needed, and I don't know this for certain, but what if she needed to go bigger, because
not to hide, in order to hide.
Yeah, maybe. What if she really was more concerned about Rose than other people?
That's actually a really great thought.
You know what I mean? You don't do a camp that long if you're not taking your opponent seriously. So in no way would I ever say that she overlooked Rose. I also, she was saying, she did do the post-fight press conference. She did a lot of interviews, which also all three of the defeated champs did it. So bravo and brava to you guys for doing that, because I can only imagine how hard that would be. But Joanna, she talked a lot about, she's a professional, she will do this. She actually was saying, don't blame the UFC. I didn't have too many distractions. She didn't make an excuse. She didn't make an excuse. This happened, and she'll grow from it.
Sometimes you just don't perform, and I just don't think she performed.
She looked a little stiff.
She did to me. Honestly, this is the thing. I remember when I was studying fights and I was watching, let me see if I can put this together eloquently, Jessica Andrade.
Yes.
I remember when she fought Hill. What's Hill's first name?
Angela.
Angela Hill. And I remember watching Angela Hill, comparing Angela Hill to Joanna.
Okay.
And thinking, okay, these are both long, lean, rangy strikers who fight similarly. But Angela Hill and Joanna on a different level as far as speed and precision. And watching Angela Hill throw punches, and then the way she retracts them compared to Joanna, I was like, I watched them side by side, and I was like, damn, Joanna she's so pinpoint,
technically perfect,
technically sound, and faster. She's faster than Hill, and she not only, this is what she always did well. I teach this to my students. You could throw a punch 100 miles an hour, but if you retract it 20 miles an hour, it's not a good punch because you're leaving yourself open. You need to go out and come back in the same speed with everything, and that's what separates the the men from the boys right there in the striking level. she always did that so well, and I thought this fight she wasn't doing that well. She was throwing these kind of lazy leg kicks, and I saw Rose starting to almost counter.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, she's throwing slow leg kicks, and then she's retracting them even slower. And right away, I was thinking, this doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. She doesn't look as pinpoint, flawless, and she's not retracting all of her strikes as fast as she normally does.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of how it got set up. She was throwing these kicks without a setup and retracting them slowly, and Rose was just timing it. She's like, if you're gonna throw a lazy leg kick, I'm gonna counter it right away, and that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, well, and we've seen in the past too that Joanna, you know, the first couple rounds against Gadelha, the second fight with Gadelha, she was put on her back a lot. You know, she can be, I don't know if I would call her a slow starter necessarily.
Right, but she doesn't get into the zone until
exactly.
later.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but she said in the press conference after, she said, hey, look, Rose did it right. She said she cut off the cage. She, you know, she just did everything right. And she said basically, I think she even said, I didn't even see the punch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how they are.
Right. And so she said, you know, in the moment, she's like, I guess I'll have to look and see what happened. I don't know. I didn't feel it. I didn't see it. But one thing I want to get your opinion on is, you know, obviously Rose was all over her and swarming on her, and like right at the moment, did you want to tap to the strikes, or was it a knockout? I want to hear what your thought is on it, because it all sort of happened together.
I got to get everybody's thought on this, actually. I want to get yours and you guys, because, okay, I'm watching this fight somewhat emotionally invested, because me and, like I said, I don't really know either of these girls very well, but me and Joanna follow each other on Instagram. So, you know, we comment on each other's photos now and then. It made me kind of invested in her.
Yes.
As much as Rose
her awesomeness didn't make you get invested in her. Her badassness didn't make, it took her following
all of those,
you. It took her following you.
But then as soon as she clicked follow out on
Jouban,
like,
damn. Now this girl's got something. All these other accomplishments and all this amazingness she's done over here. Meh.
And maybe Rose follows me too. I don't know. But anyway.
Oh my God.
So that was what put me over the edge. As soon as she hit that follow, you know, and she might have liked quite a few pictures at one time. No, anyway.
Does she have a crush?
So I'm emotionally invested.
You could make it with Joanna. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Because the champion follows me.
Is that you guys, you know, the cheekbones on your guys' babies. Sorry, Nicole.
And she likes street food, you know what I'm saying? So there's little things that happen to line up. To my point, Karyn Bryant. What the hell was my point? Okay, so when Joanna,
I love it,
went down, when she went down, I don't know if I was being emotionally invested because of a couple reasons. I'm going to get to my point somewhere. Just bear with me, guys. Trust me. You're going to want to hear this.
You love Muay Thai strikers.
I go for strikers, but Rose is a phenomenal striker as well. But this is the thing. Okay, Joanna always does everything so almost flawlessly, right? And she's got such a, just like the weigh-in, she's in your face. She's in your face. She's always, I'm the champion. That's how I act. So when she went down and kind of looked away, I know me and DC and Bisping got into an argument about this one time, but to me, if you're looking away from the opponent, that means you don't want to be there, and that's sending body language to the referee that I don't want to be there. If the referee,
I'm supposed to look at the punch and be like, yeah, bring it.
You're not supposed to look at the punch, but just like in jiu-jitsu, you would never give an opponent your back. They're going to take your back. You always want to, like, if you're in a 50-50 position, the mat's behind us, I'm always turning into my opponent. Unless I'm trying to scramble away real quick, I would never give you my back. So if I get knocked down and you're trying to punch me, I'm probably going to square up on you and overhook you, underhook you, something along those lines. But when she hit the mat and looked away and then covered up, that is immediately telling the referee and people like me who think this is the champ. She doesn't back down from a fight. She doesn't turn away from scary moments, but she's looking away. She's trying to find a way out. And that, as soon as she looked away, I'm thinking, oh my God, she wants out. She's done. She's done. And then she took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, the ref stops it. And I'm thinking, who is this referee? Why was this such a late stoppage? She wanted out because the champion doesn't look away. And then I figured out it's Big John McCartney, who in my opinion, is probably the best referee in the top 1 or 2. He's done a ton of my fights, and I always love him. Big John. So I tweeted something right away. Who was that referee that was such a late stoppage? And then I saw it was Big John, and I felt bad because he's the guy that I would always vouch for.
For sure.
So let me know your opinions. I want to get yours as well. I thought it was a bit of a late stoppage only because of the body posture saying, I'm not defending, I'm not trying to engage or defend. She was defending in terms of like somebody's trying to hurt me, I'm just looking away, covering my eyes kind of thing.
So, I actually am okay.
I didn't see the tap initially, by the way. I just saw the...
I'm okay with the stoppage because, if anything, I feel like sometimes people stop a women's fight too soon.
Yeah.
And also, you know, this is for all the marbles. It's her title. This is Joanna GD champion.
Agree.
You don't wave off Joanna champion quickly. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think it was having that familiarity with what a badass this woman is, and giving her the benefit of the doubt and not stopping it too soon. That being said, though, yes, she, you know, once it got there and once Rose was swarming on her, I thought it was, is she going to get in there and sink in a choke instead? Whatever.
She just stayed on the throttle.
So I think it. I just called it a knockout, but then everyone's like, "Oh no, she was actually tapping at the same moment."
I saw that later, which I was shocked.
Yeah, but even okay, that's my question, because even still, you know, I know that is the. And I just realized I might need a mint. I'm sorry about this.
It's okay, because I just drink a coffee, so
I might need a mint.
We're good.
We're good. Okay, good. Thank you for that. But we, but Joanna. Even if you did tap to strikes, like, I know people love to say that's the weakest thing in the world. Like, it's not. If your face is getting smashed in, and you know it's not getting any better to that, I don't see the great, like, when, you know, wussiness of that. I just don't.
It just depends on the situation to me. This one. Initially, let me finish my story, because Karyn Bryant's story about it made me remember what happened. I watched it initially.
Which story?
about thinking that Big John stopped it too soon. So what you just said about knowing how tough she, knowing what's on the line, and how tough she is.
Right.
I went back and I watched it. I rewound it, watched it again, and you know what? I agree. I agree with the stoppage. It wasn't a late stoppage.
I think it was fine.
She wasn't taking a bunch of severe damage, and it is the champion of the world. It is a title fight, so they are allowed to go a little bit longer. So I don't know. I'm just giving you my initial thoughts. My initial thoughts was she doesn't want to be there. She's looking away. She's not defending. Stop it now. She took a couple too many. I was upset. At the end of the day, it was the right stoppage. It wasn't too late. It could have been a couple punches early, but. She tapped through the strikes. I was thrown off by that.
You were a little surprised?
I think I don't know if she was not clear-headed, but if you're not clear-headed, I don't know. I've been not clear-headed in a fight lots of times, but she was still able to tap. The one time that I was like not clear-headed and I tapped was Gunner. Gunner hit me with something. I was rocked. Next thing I know, I just exhaled and he had a choke slapped on, and I was like, shit, I can't breathe, so I had to tap.
So bad.
And so I tapped while I was still kind of rocked.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess I've just never thought about tapping while I was still getting punched. You know what I mean? But either way, I don't know. I don't really have a point to this one, but.
Well, the question is just, do you lose respect for somebody tapping his strikes? I don't.
No. And especially, you know, the best point of it that I think was the smartest tap to strikes that I've ever seen was the one recently when it was the middleweight bout against, who was it? Luke Rockhold against...
David Branch.
David Branch. And David Branch have him mounted. He was not going anywhere. He was going to take a bunch of unnecessary damage. Smart tap there to strikes. We don't know what kind of condition Joanna was in right there, so you can't say she shouldn't have tapped or it's weak or this or that. I didn't really hear any discussions about that so far, because I didn't even notice the tap until I went back and watched it the second time.
Yeah, some people are. I just think that's bogus. I just think that's ridiculous. The woman is bad. Like, come on. Yeah. It wasn't going to get, if she knows it's not going to get any better from there.
Yeah.
So why would, you know what I mean? And anyway, it all kind of happened all right at the same moment anyway. But I'm really excited for Rose. I love what she said in her post-fight speech. And again, you know, loving Rose doesn't, it's not an either or for me. These are two women who I think are just absolutely incredible. But I love what she said though, just about, you know, just try not to be an a-hole. You know what I mean? Just try to be a good person. And one of the things that she did say, which I thought was pretty heavy, because we had her up on the post-fight show as well. But I think she may have said it in the press conference too, which is on, you know, our MMA.com. But that she said, before this week, I learned about how to be a champion from watching Joanna. This week, I learned how not to be a champion by watching Joanna.
Interesting.
So she was really. I thought that was a really interesting thing. You know, Rose is a woman who has spent a lot of time addressing her own issues, and I also believe that is what makes her strong. You know, people have questioned, and Joanna had questioned her mental durability. And I think the fact literally that Rose addresses her fallibility as she addresses issues in her life and that's what's making her strong. Too many people avoid, compartmentalize, don't address their issues. Admitting you have a problem or admitting something, that's brave, that is strong. Especially if it is mental health issues, which obviously we see, you know, happens again in Texas, people with issues. And so I don't think she's weak at all, and I love her positivity.
I tell you what, out of all 3 of these title fights, all 6 fighters are just phenomenal fighters, and I enjoy watching every single one of them. But with the new champions that we have, I feel like we got 3 much nicer personality champions.
Well, Mike's nice, so I know what you mean. But
he got everybody,
I know.
He got no damn filter.
But you're right. But is that a good thing or a bad thing, though? Because if you're William Morris Endeavor, do you want
the nice
Cody, who's tatted up and looks like a badass, Michael, who talks crap to everybody, you know, Joanna, who is the most like scary, intimidating woman, or do you want the
I'm curious what the UFC or what the mother companies
Mother company.
That was my go-to.
William Morris. Well, Rose is marketable though. Here's the thing: is she's lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people have the issue with the hair. She just cut it because it was in her way. This woman was trying to be a champion.
Put some extensions in her hair. All of a sudden, she's got these 2-foot-long extensions.
Guess what? Yeah, right. But her bone structure is amazing. She's a beautiful girl. She's cool. She's got a nice personality. So I feel like there's a lot of places.
She loves dogs.
And she loves her dogs, and she's just, you know, trying to just be a good person. So I think there's a lot about.
But definitely Rose is like, she's already preaching about like just be nice to people.
Yeah.
TJ is a much nicer person, and then that takes us to the main event.
This takes us to the main event.
This little polite martial arts guy who wears a Tiffany's boa around his head. Apparently, is it Tiffany's? They had they gave him at the press conference. I think it was a Tiffany's.
It was a Tiffany box because it was a Tiffany engraved ticket to the fight.
That's a cool little souvenir.
I know, but Mike took the thing off, right? That was on embedded.
He's like, there's
took
one
the
of
ribbon
those.
off.
He's like, you look silly. You look silly.
He wrapped it around like how George is. These are your fans, or whatever. But we both know that Michael is actually a great guy.
He really is. He really is.
Yes, the persona that he puts out there is of the loudmouth, the brash, whatever champion. All leading up to this fight, I thought Mike was going to win. I was like, he's got the momentum. He's a champion. He's bigger. He's got, you know, Mike's seen it all, done it all. I thought the layoff would be a little bit harder for George to come back to, and especially the pressures of coming back at Madison Square Garden and all this stuff. And I just thought, as much as I know how good George is, I thought that Mike had a lot of things going for him positively into this fight. Then George came on the weigh-in show with us. And I went home after the weigh-in show and I said, Wade,
he's so relaxed.
I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit worried for our friend Mike.
Yeah.
Because George was so in the zone.
Yeah.
And like he was having, and I said this, the time of his life.
Yeah.
He's all smiles, he's cracking jokes, he looked so comfortable, he looked this. Then obviously when you're standing there, he makes the weight. He doesn't have some big fat alien belly like everybody's giving him, you know, grief for. And I literally stood there during the weigh-in show. We were having a really good time with him. He's such a really great guy.
Yeah.
But I literally said to Wade after, I was like, uh-oh. You know, uh-oh. For Mike. Uh-oh. And that's...
He looked great. It's crazy because we kept thinking like George is going to be the smaller man.
Yeah.
Man, watching the fight, I'm like, George is a freaking tank.
He is a tank now.
He just looks, I mean, I was thinking like, he looks bigger than Woodley would look, you know, like he
he is bigger than Tyron. I mean, granted, obviously Tyron now is still walking around at like 190 something.
Yeah.
But when Tyron was standing right next to George, George was bigger.
George looked like a freaking tank, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Are they testing him? I mean, has he been tested?
Yes.
I'm joking. But yeah, you know, he looked like a tank. I didn't think Michael looked that much bigger than him at all. I mean, George just looked like he could do what he wanted once he got in the clinch. But he looked great. To me, the biggest thing was he's been off for 4 years, and there's the whole ring rust issue, whatever. But when you're off for 4 years and your mind is in the sport, Dominic Cruz was off for 4 years, but he was always like clawing away to get back to his title
and commentating and still really thinking about the game.
Sport. Yeah, thinking about it a lot. Well, George has been doing all kinds of other things, enjoying himself. He just realized he had the itch and he wanted to make some money. This was a big payday, a good opportunity. He liked the matchup against Bisping. He saw something there that he felt he could capitalize on. But at the end of the day, I thought Bisping was just going to scramble and get back to his feet, which he did. George just caught him, man. George just caught him, but he looked phenomenal up until then. You know, watching the fight, I had forgotten, George doesn't really get a lot of credit for his striking because he's not like a devastating knockout puncher, or he doesn't have like a ferocity about his style.
Right.
But watching him strike, he's like he's almost got that Gunnar Connor thing going where he's like the timing and the angles are a little bit different than you're used to seeing because of his background and because of his experience. And when he was landing those 1-2s and stuff on Michael, I was thinking, man, he's doing that at just the right angle and just the delay in timing and everything, and he looked really good. And then obviously when he would get a hold of Michael, he took Michael down. I'm just making up a number, 4 to 5 times. I mean, he did very well. Yeah. Michael was able to scramble back to his feet like we thought he would be able to. But George did the perfect game plan. You know, he heard him. He said, I'm just going to apply pressure, let him get to his feet where he exposes his neck, and then he put him away. He looked great. I don't know if I heard DC say maybe this is the best he's ever looked. I don't know if I want to put him there yet. I want to see him against another competitor first before I give him that label of like being better than he's ever been.
Well, I also want to see him go more rounds. Like he did look like he got tired.
Started to fade.
Right, so we're sitting there, and after that first round, it was like, yeah, bada bing, bada boom, and then he was like, took some breaths, and we were wondering that, like, is he, did he have an adrenaline dump there? Is he going to get more tired? That is more weight to carry around. That is more muscle or whatever to carry around. And we know that Mike can go forever. Yeah. So I did start to think that even though, George started out strong, I thought that it was going to turn into Mike's fight, and it looked like it was turning into Mike's fight. It did look like it was turning into Mike's fight. And one thing he did say before the fight is he admitted how strong George is, and that he could be, even though Michael might have a size advantage, he did admit that he knows George could be very strong. It's tough because for Michael, I don't know if he. It's not like he didn't want, I know he had great respect for George, and we know how much smack talk he put in there. But I don't necessarily think that Michael was necessarily doing things wrong there. But we did all say that before. We know he's going to get taken down. It's not an if, but he did a good job of getting back up. It's just that George was able to get him in the open water a couple times, right? Yeah. Because a lot of time Mike's able to sort of use the fence and get up, and George got him in a couple times where he didn't have that option.
And George did the one obvious thing that you would do if you're studying tape on Michael. You know that he's got a bad eye. Yeah. Doesn't see things very clearly at that eye at all. And if he came from that angle, he probably could catch Michael slipping. Right. He shot in a couple times on Michael. Michael was weary of the takedown. Wary, W-A-R-Y, and then he got weary, W-E-A-R-Y. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I also, by the way, you had a great play on words. You said that George didn't have the ferocity, which sounds amazing because, Faraz, Sahabi, that was like, that one was thought that was kind of genius.
Thank you very much. George shot in on him a couple times. No, actually, from the beginning bell, Michael was scared of the takedown. He was kind of keeping his distance. It looked like a grappler versus striker.
Mike did look a little nervous to me at first.
Mike
did.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. He didn't want to engage with that. He wanted to kind of pick GSP apart. Once GSP landed a couple of takedowns, Michael really was trying to stay away from that. George did a great job of changing levels, kind of showing Michael the takedown. Michael had to drop his hands. He came from with the hook, Michael's bad eye, where Michael didn't see the punch coming as clearly, was able to land it right there on the button, put him down. From there, he was able to wrap it up. George looked phenomenal coming off of a 4-year layoff at a new weight class. Where does he go from here? I heard Dana White say George is staying at middleweight. Does that mean that he's staying at middleweight? George can do whatever he wants to do. He's now the new
champ. Well, he's the fourth fighter to become a champ in 2 divisions.
But what I'm saying is Conor McGregor right now is the guy that kind of tries to push back with Dana White. Right. He can do it. He has the leverage. Now he has GSP. Yeah. GSP has the leverage now too. Does he want to go and fight Tyron, or does he want to fight
Robert Whittaker?
Robert Whittaker.
I don't know, and the thing that's interesting to me is Kenny was pretty, Kenny and George are tight. They've known each other for years, training partner and all that. So Kenny was pretty convinced that George was going to be one and done, which I found hard to believe, but he was saying, he really wanted to come back and prove something, and Michael was the right fight for the right reasons, or whatever. He was being a little cryptic about it, but whatever. But after that performance and seeing George, like I said, having him on the show with us on Friday in the weigh-in show, like, he just seemed to be so happy that I couldn't imagine him just riding off in the sunset again after this weekend, especially victorious. So I actually, though, will say I prefer him at 70 because standing there on the doing all the shows. Now, Chris Weidman wasn't with us for that particular interview with George, but Weidman was with us all weekend. Chris is giant. Okay, so I see Chris, even just seeing Chris stand next to Tyron, and granted, Tyron is not the tallest or whatever.
But there's a size difference.
But I thought about it and I was like, okay, Tyron was smaller than George, but George would definitely be smaller than Chris. And it just, I thought, you know, George might be better off at 70. If you're talking about your Luke Rockholds, if you're talking about, you know, Robert Whittaker isn't a huge guy, but Michael's not a huge guy. Yeah. But you want Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold, you know what I mean? I don't know if you necessarily really want a piece of that, whereas at 70, you know, there's a lot of great fights. And yes, he could go down and try to challenge Tyron for the title. One thing that was really funny, though, and hopefully some of you people caught it, because I'm pretty sure it was like, so Tyron was talking, he's like, yeah, you know, George, during the show, he's like, don't run for me, and he's tweeting all this stuff. And I swear, I you know, there's a lot going on this weekend, but I swear to God, Tyron said at one point, he said something like, yeah, and I really want to fight with George, and I want this, and we're going to super fight and unify. And Weidman's sitting next to him like, yeah. And then Tyron said something like, and if it doesn't happen here, I'll just go up and challenge him at 85. And Chris is like, yeah.
What?
Wait, what did you just say? And it was a really funny expression from Chris because I don't know that Tyron should go to 85. You know what I mean? I like Tyron where he is, but I know he really wants the fight with George. But yeah, I personally, to wrap it up, don't think George is one and done. Want him to go to 70. I don't want Michael to retire. Do you want him to? You were in camp with him. Should he retire, or is he a fighter that still has some fight left in him?
I'll say this. I thought he was going to win this fight and then retire. What's left? This was going to be his big payday. That
would have been a great moment.
It would have just been the perfect time to retire. But then after the fight, Michael was saying that he's not done. That he wants to fight some more and this and that. So I was kind of shocked by that. And I'll say this about Michael. Love him or hate him, the guy, like we said, we both kind of know him. The guy just is unfiltered, but he apologizes a lot. He's just unfiltered, but he's got a good heart. And you want to talk about a guy that owns up to stuff and doesn't make excuses. I trained with Michael, and his last sparring session that we had before he got on the plane to go to New York, he hurt himself. He got hurt. I won't even be detailed about where or what, because I don't know how much he wants to let out. But Michael injured himself the last thing that he did before his last session, the last round. He got injured, had to go to the doctor and get that checked out. He was in a lot of pain, but he still got on the flight, went through all his media issues. He didn't make excuses during the fight camp, didn't make excuses after the fight. He could have easily said, man, I had a bad injury.
Yep.
Didn't make a single excuse, didn't even bring it up. Matter of fact, after the fight, he said, I had nothing to, I have no excuses. I felt great. George was a better man. So just hold your reservations on Michael. Before you have something bad to say about him, know that he's unfiltered and he says some things now and then, but he's the kind of guy that owns up to stuff and he doesn't make excuses, and he did so that night. So he's a great guy.
He really is a great guy, and that's the whole thing. You know, he says stuff to sell tickets and all that, but he's a family man. He loves his family. He's a good dude. You knew George
St-Pierre has a built-in audience, but you knew George St-Pierre was going to get up there and drop some F-bombs. He's a bad guy.
Exactly.
Somebody had to do that.
Somebody had to do it. You know, they are going to go back to England for a fight, so maybe Michael would fight there. You know, the thing about the retirement for him, you know, he makes a really good living fighting, so I could see why he wouldn't necessarily want to quit. But he is 38. You know, George is 36. But now I would say, you know, it's like, is he 32 because he took 4 years off? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily want Mike to retire. That after that, I'm sure he would rather go out on a win. I don't know who I'd like if he had one more fight, if it was a farewell fight. Like, I don't necessarily know who I'd want that to even be against at this moment. I can't even really think about it. But I do know that like he really poured his heart into this fight, and really, if he had one, that would have been incredible. Like you said, that's the drop the mic moment.
Oh, if he had
Anderson
won the fight.
And George, and
I thought you meant if he had a heart.
No.
That's what it sounded like. I'm like, come on, Karyn.
No, I don't want to, you know, but it's
W-O-N, not O-N.
Yes. But you know, he does have other stuff that he can do. He's, you know, starting to do more movies and things like that. You know, his paycheck for that won't compete with what he could get fighting yet. Yeah. But that is something that he's building. You know, and you're obviously very savvy about this too, trying to find a career after, you know, you're fighting, so you're working on other stuff. But George, by the way, George is the one that had to go to the hospital, not Michael.
Oh, did George go?
Yeah, but it was nothing serious. I guess it was just for some stitches. But George is the one who didn't end up at the post-fight press conference, didn't end up on our post-fight shows or anything, because he's the one who had to be transported. So you can't say that Michael didn't. Yeah, you can't say that Michael didn't do some work that night.
From the bottom too, he was landing those up elbows from the bottom. Remember that cut George up? That's when George started to fade when he got back to the feet. There were some moments where I was like, George started strong, but now that extra 15 pounds is starting to tire him down. He's not used to it. Michael's going to keep going. Michael just kind of messed up and got caught, really. But it was an entertaining fight until then. It was.
So, yeah, we had 3 and news, which was just crazy. I guess the one that most surprised me was Rose.
Me too.
But also the one I was like most sort of happy for the winner in that situation. Yeah. Before them, though, there were a bunch of other fights, obviously. Yeah. Wade was backstage and got post-fight interviews with people like Curtis Blaydes. Real quickly, I want to ask you on that. Did you see that Curtis Blaydes fight with the kick that Olenek said landed on him? He was down.
I didn't see that one. That was a fight pass.
Yeah, right? So Curtis kicked him, but it really didn't land. It really didn't land.
Replay?
Yeah.
They finally
utilized. So it kind of grazed. Wow. Olenek was trying to, like, I don't know if he's trying. I'm not trying to just be disrespectful. But, you know, if you have the opportunity to win by disqualification, maybe you act like it landed worse than it did, or maybe who knows.
So they went to the replay and saw that it landed.
It didn't land.
It didn't land.
No, it didn't really land. It just kind of blew by him. But the problem is still the problem. So Curtis Blaydes got a TKO victory, which I believe is the right thing to have not disqualified him for that. That being said, though, you do have to be careful when you're throwing a kick anyway on somebody who's down. But I was nervous that they were going to screw that up, and they got that one right.
What about OSP's head kick? Did
That's
he get
what
a bonus?
I was going to ask you about. Yeah.
He got a bonus?
Yeah, there was
like some half bonuses.
Sure
I saw some 25.
There were 25ers for Ramos, who got the elbow, the spinning elbow against Ayman Zahabi. So yeah, there were 3 fight night bonuses, 3 $50,000 bonuses, and 2 25ers.
All performances.
Yeah, performance.
Awesome.
No fight. No, I think there were.
No fight of the night.
I thought there was a fight of the night.
I don't know. You know
Daniel said he gave an extra bonus and he split it in half.
Oh, that's right. So he gave a couple of those on the fit. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, I can't.
OSP's head kick. This guy fights main event in Japan. The one I said it to death, what you got for. He gets the Von Flue choke, gets the bonus, comes back and takes a short notice fight. Madison Square Garden, gets the head kick knockout, gets another bonus. Now OSP's trying to jump on December 30th in Vegas. This guy is all about the money right now. He's making it. He's on the run, man. I'm happy for him.
Well, Okami didn't even land a punch, so that was
an easy one.
Easy money, short work.
Okami.
And then today, on Saturday, he was supposed to. Patrick Cummins was supposed to be fighting Corey Anderson, and he got a staph infection. So OSP jumped in there. I did think OSP was losing, and I saw Corey Anderson after the fight, and I was like, "Hey, listen, you were doing so much stuff right there. Keep your head up, no pun or whatever, because I thought Corey was doing a lot of things right. OSP landed that kick right at the right time. But before that, I thought he was, a little lazy.
Yeah, no, I thought
that's kind of my issue with OSP in general, is that
he's not consistent inside the octagon. Hey. Look, everybody wins and loses. I get it. I'm not always consistent as well. But you see a guy that has like some fights tremendous potential, and in some fights where he's just not able to quite piece it together. And that's what I mean by that. I agree with you. He was losing that fight, but Corey Anderson looked great, man. He was kind of utilizing. He looked like one of those typical wrestlers with good hands and able to put it together good. He was kind of landing good combos, changing levels, making OSP think about the level changes and the hands, the head movement. Everything was there. It was just like how you spar when you warm up, when your wrestling coach is saying, like, use head movement, fake the shots, put the hands behind it. That's how we warm up with Kenny Johnson all the time. Corey Anderson was doing a phenomenal job doing that. He just kind of got complacent for 1 second, and the damn foot landed on the head, and it was lights out. It was crazy that it was the foot that landed, not even the shin, the foot that landed, but it put his lights out. I mean, he went down hard.
Yeah, he did.
I thought that was going to be maybe like a flash knockdown, but he didn't wake up.
No, he was out. He was out. Yeah. And the thing about OSP, like I said, is that I feel like there are times where, if you don't want to be a champion and you just want to make a living fighting, cool. I guess it's like for a lot of the commentators and stuff, and people we saw when OSP first came out, you're like, oh my God, this guy, look at the way he's built, look at all this ability, look at this, he could be a champion. And it's like, we wanted it more than he did, you know what I mean? Which it kind of comes out, it sort of seems. But if he's just happy, just putting on fights and stuff like that, that's great. I guess it's just a little frustrating sometimes, though. I mean, obviously he got to fight John that time, but it's like, I think I want it more for him than maybe he does.
Want to see him like in the bigger fights.
Yeah, and like you know. Want to know what you think of Johnny Hendricks and Paulo Costa. You know, he used to be called Borrachinha. Funny things about, what his nickname means. It means the eraser. But then the translations for that were coming out to mean little rubber in Spanish.
Hey.
And he didn't, but really it means a little eraser on a pen. So there's some talk about him changing it. I saw his coach, Eric Albarracin, and we saw Paulo after the show. And we were talking about that. But Eric Albarracin was saying how he showed him the movie Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then he was like, okay, yeah, just call me that now. But Paulo Costa, who everybody really thinks USADA needs to visit, that's you, that's me,
He's
whatever, that's whatever you know people want to say about him. But you can't deny the fact that this guy is like showing up on the scene, blasting people.
People up.
There was one comment that said he was the Brazilian Alan Jouban.
I mean, I don't know if I would take it quite that far, but you know, he's a handsome guy. Hey, I'll tell you, I got a bunch of texts that day. As soon as the fight was on, I was trying to get my my pay-per-view ordered. I was late to it, and they're like, "Yo, this guy right here, you're handsome, Alan, but this guy's super handsome." Right here. And I was like, "Yo, you're right. Borrachinha, yeah,
Borrachinha's
he's a handsome devil. He is jacked up. I sure hope he's not cheating, man, because he looks like a gifted guy, man. And he's what is he, like 4-0 now in the UFC?
Yeah.
He's coming on the scene strong, and I didn't get to really see that fight. I saw the very end of it, so he's a guy that I've been kind of having my eye on the last couple of fights.
Yeah.
I'm just still not sold on Johnny Hendricks just yet as a middleweight. He's kind of like his last fight. He looked pretty good, right? Didn't he win his last fight? Johnny Hendricks. He looked kind of light on his feet. Sometimes Johnny Hendricks is another one of those guys that's kind of hit or miss as well. You don't really know where he's at.
Right.
And then you look at the body difference. Johnny Hendricks can sometimes look good against guys, but then you have the Borrachinha guy, and the guy is like chipped out of steel.
I know. Well, the funny thing is at the weigh-ins, which also, again, if you want to go back and see any of this, it's all on MMAHeat.com. But you know, Paulo Costa rolls out there, and 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 we went to the morning weigh-ins too. We have the morning ones and the ceremonials. But he goes out there, and he's like, he's flexing, he's taking it all in. And then we were laughing that Johnny Hendricks went out there to the thing. And he was like, hey, well, no. He kept his shirt on at the ceremonial weigh-ins because, like, why would you take his shirt?
Why even give him that win? Don't give him that small victory.
Don't give him that edge there.
He should have just taken some dip out and like flung the dip out. So nasty. That would have been it.
But the thing about Borrachinha, or Costa, I guess we should call him. Is he did the right thing on the microphone. He had something to say. He said, "I'm going to be the next, big thing from Brazil." I believe he was calling out Derek Brunson, and he's saying that all these other guys are afraid to fight him. So I like what he's doing.
Good.
I know for some of the Brazilians, they don't love his politics, and they would rather him not speak about his politics.
He speaks literally about politics? Is that what you mean?
And his support of some politicians that many Brazilians don't like. So
not MMA politics.
No. Okay. In Brazil. So I know that is turning some people off from him. So maybe it'd be better for him to just not talk about politics. I don't know. But he's got what you need, to become a star. So hopefully he just keeps increasing that skill set. He's certainly fun to watch.
Yeah, ferocious guy.
But people on the flip side of that were saying, what about Johnny? What does he do next? It's probably the end of the road for him in the UFC, I would imagine.
We'll see. I mean, he did take up a new camp for this fight, right? He went to meet up with Cowboy and Jackson Winklejohn, and getting some new training, new sparring partners. It seemed like he was real happy with his camp that I saw, and that he had a pretty good weight cut and everything. Right. Seemed happy. I didn't get to see the entirety of the fight, so I don't really know how he performed. And look, he might have even performed well, but he just, you get caught, and then it is what it is. But yeah, it's been an up and down bumpy road for Hendricks in the last couple of years or so. So I'll be curious to see where he does go from here.
I didn't think he looked great.
Did he not look that great during the fight?
The other thing too, the interesting thing in the morning, people.
Was it a bad matchwhat?
Costa's
But you know what I do remember now? The little bit that I did see from this fight, Johnny didn't utilize. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I saw of the fight, he didn't utilize any wrestling against him. Did he not? Right? He tried to stand with him the whole time. So he's kind of at that point in his career where he's like, giving up on the wrestling somewhat because it expends too much energy. He's not really.
It must. He just did.
It's tougher. Just like when you get older, as an older fighter, like it becomes harder. Punches become the easiest thing, okay?
Right.
Because if you're a kicker, the older you get, the less. You look at Anderson Silva. He used to utilize kicks all the time. The older you get, aside from breaking his leg, he doesn't kick quite as much. It's just your hips aren't as flexible. It takes a lot more energy to get your kicks up. These wrestlers who take down everybody early in their career, the later in the career that they get, you don't see Dan Henderson like taking guys down all the time. They just become punchers. And I think Hendricks has become that type of fighter at this stage of his career where he's not really utilizing his full arsenal anymore. He's kind of just relying more on the punches. And his body type and arm length and size at 185 isn't really gonna a high percentage of wins being a puncher against all these young punchers.
Yeah, he's too small.
With more reach and height.
He's too small for 85. Yeah. He's too small. A very nice guy.
Too small for 85 and too big for 70.
And or not disciplined enough for 70.
Yeah.
Which is, but it was interesting in the morning weigh-ins. He comes in and he's doing this whole thing and he's talking to the media. Hey, I don't want you guys to write bad stories. And he was talking this whole thing, like setting it up as if he was almost just about to miss weight or something, or that he was going to have to weigh in a towel, because he's talking about when he checked his weight on this thing and then he gets on the thing and then he was fine.
He did a towel though.
Yeah, but it was weird. But he did. I forget. He did the towel, but he kept his shorts on it for. It was strange. Yeah. It was a weird thing, and I know you guys get a little punchy and dehydrated or whatever. But he just was weird, and he said all this, and everybody's looking at each other like, what are you talking about? Like, but to come out before you get on the scale and say, don't write any bad stories. I checked my weight over here. It was this. I checked that and the other thing. It was like he knew something bad was going to happen, but then he
might have been trying to have a little fun with the media and just his comedy timing wasn't on. I'm thinking.
I don't know. But Bo Hashinya, good for you, and he is somebody fun to watch as a rising star. I'm wondering what you thought though of Wonderboy's win over Jorge Masvidal, because obviously that's your weight class. And that was one that ended up being under the radar with all these title fights. But obviously that was a very important fight for both guys and for your division.
That was another one that I was watching very closely. It really kind of went how I expected. I picked Wonderboy. I figured he would just be able to use the reach and that lead leg side kick that he always does to keep Masvidal at bay. He didn't want to get in close where Masvidal could use his punching range. I think Masvidal started picking up momentum midway through the fight where he said, you know what, I just got to bite on a bullet. And he landed that one hook where he caught Wonderboy circling out with his hands down, and he realized, look, I can't play tick for tack because this guy's too long and too fast. He's, as Joe Rogan alluded to during the broadcast, he's that point fighter style. So he knows how to blitz, he knows how to get in and get back very, very fast. Where if you grew up fighting, as Masvidal did, street fights or just real fighting, we're looking for power, complete power, where Wonderboy doesn't look for that. He just looks for landing, and eventually just set up the big one. You're not going to win against a guy that does that his entire life. So two different style of upbringings of fighters, and it showed that the point fighting was too much in that big of an octagon for Masvidal. It was a good win for him. I think he said he took 8 months off, Wonderboy. He's coming off of, what was his last fight? He was coming off of the
Woodley.
So rematch, 2 fights with Woodley, one of them a draw, another one a loss. Good for him to get back in that win column so he can try to do something. But with that said, I was really watching the fight closely because these guys are in my division. I know them both very well as far as fighting. Not the most entertaining fight. I don't know if it was something obviously that people were like banging down the door to see Wonderboy fight for a title anytime soon, So kind of like, where does he go now? What is he, number 1 or number 2? Coming off of a win. Who do you match him up with? A lot of guys probably don't want to fight him. He's not an easy matchup, but also doesn't make for an entertaining fight, so I'm not sure where he goes right now.
Well, I disagree that it wasn't entertaining. Because I thought there were some great moments in
I agree too.
But it could have been. But Stephen is. It
wasn't a brawl.
A brawl, right? Which Masvidal wanted. Actually, afterwards, Wade talked to Stephen, and he wants Lawler. Right? Isn't that what he said? Because if you think about Lawler and RDA are fighting in a couple weeks in December, but he was talking about Lawler. But here, a few things on this that I thought were interesting. We know Jorge used to fight at 50, 55 rather, and this is at 70. I thought he looked small against Stephen.
Stephen has that. I don't know what it is. He's standing next to him. He's 6 feet tall. He's not muscular,
not a big dude,
super tall,
but
or
he
lanky.
looked big.
But in the way he stands and the way his style, he makes himself look so much longer. It's crazy.
Right. And so one of the things that Tyron was saying too, because, you know, Tyron and Jorge used to train together. You know, Tyron used to be an ATT guy and still essentially is or whatever. But he was saying stuff while we were watching this fight with Steven, because obviously he's been in there now and he spent 50 minutes with Steven.
Like, not so easy, is it?
Right. So he was saying stuff about in the fight that Jorge could have been doing or wasn't doing wrong, and literally Tyron's like, oh, he's going to do this now, and he was right. Yeah. He's like, oh, Steven's going to do this. He's going to do this. He's going to do this, and he knew what he was doing. He's like, because he said, hey, I watched tape. He said, so I don't know if Masvidal watched enough tape. And I said, well, hey, did he call you, you know, because you fought him and you guys are boys? And he said, no, actually he didn't. He said, and I think maybe he didn't talk to me because he thinks if he beats Steven, we might fight each other. He said, I don't really know. He said, but I just don't think that his team did the right work in watching the camp. He said, because he kept saying he's doing the wrong thing. He said, but the tricky thing with Steven, and what we all know, is you just don't know what he's going to throw, right? And so the whole point is that you're like mentally exhausted in there because he can throw anything from every position, right? And then he switches the stance, and all of a sudden you're like, well, from this stance, the low kick's there, but also the head kick's there. Shoot, what's this? Is he going to spin? I don't know. So, you know, they just talk about how complex it is to fight Steven, because you you just don't know what's coming. You just don't know.
You can see Masvidal, he forced Masvidal to kind of play this really high guard. He always has his hands up, but he kind of had to play that really high guard, because when somebody's, if we're like, I'm like, if I'm telling Karyn to like stop my hand before I touch her nose, and I keep touching her nose and she can't get it, it's like, then you're just forced to just hold yourself there and like play more heavily more on the defensive side than the offensive side. And Steven has a style where he forces guys to be on their back foot and defensive, while he's completely offensive, while he's got that sideways stance, his hands low, ready to just spring into action, while he's making guys, he's forcing guys to have to chamber fire when he's already chambered. And that's just his style. He's so difficult to deal with.
Right, and don't you also, like you said, when you stand like that, you don't give much of a target, right?
That's
so it's like
narrow target.
Very, very small target, right? And he does have such long legs and moves around. And you know, you could see late in the fight, Masvidal did actually have some success there and started, getting in the firefight more. You could tell that he just must have turned it on. But I was a little nervous for Steven in there because he engaged. You know what I mean? It was sort of like, dude, you're up 2 rounds, and it's cool that you want to get in here and throw down a little bit, but don't stand in the pocket with Masvidal if you're trying to win a fight.
Yeah, the one thing that Steven gives from that narrower stance is the lead leg is so far out that it's susceptible to leg kicks. And we saw that in the fight. We saw Masvidal starting to land a couple, and those started to accumulate a little bit. I don't think he was putting a lot on him, but if he continued with that, he probably would have started making Steven favor that front leg a little bit more.
Well, and they were cool about it. You know, Wonderboy, Masvidal tweeted out, you know, Steven, congratulations, you're a better man tonight. So yeah, on the whole, I thought that the main card was pretty great.
Delivered.
The 3 title changing hands was absolutely insane. And you know, it's funny because during the week we did some other videos as well. I talked to Patrick Cote, who obviously former UFC fighter, and he calls all the fights in French. And I was talking to him about George, and we did this on Thursday. I guess that was Thursday, and he predicted a 2nd round submission win for George. So I texted him fight, and I'm like, dude, you almost got it right. But it's still an interesting.
It was a 3rd round.
3rd round. Interesting interview to watch because Patrick really puts it into perspective what George means to Canada and to the Canadian fight fans and stuff. So that was interesting. That same event we were at, Body Armor, the drink that's now the official UFC sponsor. They had a press conference, and so it was Dana and the co-founder of Body Armor, Kobe Bryant, was there.
Never heard of him.
Francis Ngannou, Cynthia Calvillo, and Cody Garbrandt. Michelle Watterson is also one of the sponsored athletes. She just couldn't make it there. So we shot this whole press conference, and then afterwards, I was also able to grab an interview with Francis Ngannou, which was kind of fun because okay, hold on, I want to back up one thing. You should watch the interview, the press conference, just for the moment when I got up and I told Kobe Bryant, I was like, yeah, you got another Boston fan in the audience here. That's what's up, right? Because I think Anik had said, Anik was hosting it, and Anik and Dana, I think, had both said something to him, and so I was like, come on, I gotta razz this guy. So I get up and I'm just like, yeah, that's what's up.
What did he do?
And he just laughed, cool? And he was, we were laughing about some stuff, but
he's heard it all.
Yeah, but Kobe's cool. Although I have always said that if he was on any other team other than the Lakers, I would have worn a Bryant shirt.
Yeah.
But being from Boston, we don't support the Lakers. I'm sorry. So he should have been on another team. I'd have been repping that. But yeah, see what you like.
I don't think Lakers fans would agree with that one.
I know. I don't hate the player, I hate the game, you know, so I'm not mad at Kobe. But anyway, Francis Ngannou, so he's gigantic.
Yeah,
like
he's a big man.
Gigantic. And I know people, I'll have to, I don't want to get it. But did you see the picture of him and Mighty Mouse?
With Francis?
Yeah.
No, I saw Mighty Mouse next to that tall white basketball player guy.
There's a funny picture of Mighty Mouse and
do we have it?
I don't, because I just now I'm thinking of it. But let's see, how do we phrase this with staying PC? People are laughing and they're saying that Ngannou was very excited to meet Mighty Mouse.
Oh, really?
And
oh, man.
His excitement was showing.
Oh, really?
And his excitement is frightening.
Well, you guys should look that up right now.
His excitement is
and leave
frightening,
comments.
let's just say. Wait, he's in khaki pants, and it's, yeah, anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. But anyway, Francis Ngannou, they had one of those punch-out games. Yes, it's that one. Had one of those punch-out games, and he beats the dude is gigantic, but he's so, no, dude, don't look at it. He's so fly. Yeah, he's so fly. He's in this amazing suit.
I don't have it live yet.
It's okay.
Okay.
He's in this amazing suit or whatever, and like you're there, and you're like, dude, I get it. Like this dude, again, just like H.E.A.T is like, Ngannou is a superstar in the making.
Yeah.
Looks so just. Damn, look good. And, you know, obviously he's going to be fighting Overeem, and we're talking about that, and just about the Junior Dos Santos fight that fell through, and, you know, him training at the Performance Institute. His English is getting better. So when it's just, that dude is just cool. Like, he's just cool to look at and so fun to watch fight. So you should check out the Ngannou interview if you can.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. We were on a tour together. We checked out the Performance. Are we showing that
now? I can't. It just...
okay.
You don't need to, Wade. We really don't need to. We really don't need to show it.
Some soft porn.
No, we really don't need to show it. But
go look it up.
But literally, it's like, no, it's frightening.
It's like
it's frightening.
The game picture.
It's frightening.
Don't look that one up.
What else did we get that weekend? Wade shot a 360 video while we were doing UFC tonight. So there's a 360 video behind the scenes of UFC tonight. 360.
MMA.com/360.
Yeah, MMA.com/360. He was at some of the workouts, press conference stuff, weigh-ins, all that. So there's plenty of cool stuff on.
Oh, and UFC tonight behind the scenes.
That's what I just said. I started with that. Yeah. So, I mean, what a week.
New York seemed fun. I'm watching her on Instagram.
I love New York.
Kind of jealous right now. I kind of want to be in New York right now. It looked like a blast.
It was, you know, and the weather was ridiculous on Thursday. It was like 70 degrees. The crowd there was great. What? No, people are talking.
People were looking up like.
Don't.
Someone says, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, don't. No, like, and that's what happened. Like, well, because everybody at work was all like, "Did you see this?" And everyone's like, "What is it?" Oh my God! Like everybody, it's yeah.
We have any questions?
Yeah. If anybody's got any questions,
aside from the Ngannou picture,
aside from how will Francis Ngannou ever breed because women will be afraid of him?
We had a ton of questions. I lost count.
Okay, about
who is Allen fighting next? And one person jumps in and goes, "I would love to see him against Jorge Masvidal. What do you think?"
That's a fight that people have been kind of like on Twitter have been kind of asking about for a while now. We always get kind of in the thread. I'd be down for the fight. He's a tough guy. He's definitely not a guy that like people are wanting to fight, but I think it would be a really good scrap, me and him.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and him always seem to be in some thread. We were for a while at least. I was always including me and him, and it just never got made. But as far as me fighting, I'm still waiting. I'm still kind of waiting right now. I was thinking it was going to be the end of December. I think the UFC is kind of saying that December 30th card is already. A lot of the year is pretty much kind of said and done. With that said, the UFC just announced, we were talking about it earlier, a bunch of cards, some in January, February. So it might be sometime around then, maybe mid-January next year.
Yeah, there's a Boston show, there's a North Kakalaki show, there's, you know, Vegas again, there's Perth, Australia, there's Orlando. I believe.
You said Austin already? You said Austin?
I didn't say Austin.
Texas?
Yeah. So there's a lot. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just trying to look.
I know it was such a crazy week.
There's a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Dean D, glad you like the 360 videos. Always appreciate.
Yeah.
He's always commenting, sharing, blah blah.
Cool.
Let's see.
In the meantime, you know,
Waiting,
folks,
guys.
tomorrow we're doing some more UFC Now.
Yeah.
So you guys should check those out.
Smiling Sam Alvey, if you want to see a lot of
Smiling Sam.
a lot of teeth, make sure you tune in.
And then I'll have Tough Talk again this week and stuff, and this is the quarterfinal, so this Wednesday's episode is going to have 2 fights on it. So it's good. On Tough Talk. On Tough, The Ultimate Fighter. There's going to be 2 fights on it. So it's Roxy versus Joanna.
Who's been doing Tough Talk with you?
Well, we filmed it in advance because Mike had to fight, but he was on the one this week. But you know, that one we did tape because the way the week was going to map out, and then it's like, are we going to do it in New York or do it in LA? So you know, whatever. But I believe Mike's going to be back. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's coming back in.
I would say take a vacation, Mike. You deserve it. I'm sure you like it, but he also likes the money.
He likes the money. Mike likes to work. I think, you know, he needs he might be drunk at work. I mean, I don't know, because he did say after, he's like, I'm going to drink.
It's a possibility.
But yeah, so we have that this weekend. There are the Norfolk fights. I'm not working that one, but who do you like in Pettis versus Poirier? Because that's a sick fight. Damn. I actually really love that fight, and I don't know what to do because Poirier has been looking so incredible lately. But when Anthony's in the zone, you know, it's back at the better weight class, and even though it could be eventually, you know, you're a couple steps away from title shot again, like he does better when there's less pressure, when it's not title shot, title eliminator, or whatever, and he just goes out there and has fun. I really like that fight a lot.
This is an awesome fight.
Yeah.
It's such a tough one for me because...
I know why. He's going with Poirier.
Poirier is the Lafayette boy. I always got to rep. I mean, unless he's going against like one of my direct teammates or something, I gotta rep my Lafayette, Louisiana guys. But Pettis is just a guy that I've been a fan of as long as we've known him. You know, and a lot of the Rufus Sport guys, I like to watch them. They're great training over there, and they do a lot of great stuff. So man, either way, I'm just looking to see an awesome fight. I wonder though if it's gonna be a dynamic striking fight, or if I could see Dustin utilizing. He's been utilizing a lot of wrestling in his fights. You know, striking early and then getting a takedown with about a minute or 2 left in the fight, and using some ground and pound. Pettis has been showing a lot of great jiu-jitsu as well.
I was just going to say, he's a submission threat.
Yeah,
so he won his title with a submission. Yeah. And he came back when Charles Oliveira was putting it on him, and he came back. The black
belt Charles Oliveira.
Yeah. So looking forward to it.
Gonna be a good one.
Looking forward to it.
Who's the co-main on that one?
The co-main on that one is
to the death. It's Matt Brown.
Yes, and Diego Sanchez. It's Matt Brown's final fight. So I'm bittersweet about that one. I think it's the right time for him, but like Matt Brown fights, like you always want to watch Matt Brown. When Matt Brown and Diego Sanchez together is bananas.
I'm hearing it's supposed to be a ladder fight with a cage
ladder
on top.
Fight, totally.
and a shark.
We're actually not. That one's not going to have rounds. It's just going to go until somebody literally just can't fight anymore.
Bleeds out.
Just bleeds out. And we will thank them for their service.
I'm hoping, what a fight it would be if it just lived up to some bloodbath. I don't even care if there's any technique. If these guys just brawl the entire time, it'd be great, because it's Matt Brown's final fight. Diego probably doesn't have too many left. I'm hoping, like, you know, somebody doesn't get clipped in the first minute.
I know. I hope it's like Diego and Gilbert. Remember that? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if these guys want that. What do? They want the bonuses, and they live for that.
Yeah, that's who they are.
Nobody wants to, like,
nobody's out there going, Matt Brown's going to put on a technical display of crisp point striking.
You know what I mean? Or Diego.
I mean, that's not why they're there. That's not why they're beloved. I mean, and granted, they obviously they know a lot and they know how to be technical, but it's just way more fun.
But the brawling, the heart that they show, that's what's gotten them the notoriety.
Yes.
And a lot of the wins as well.
Matt Browns are awesome, man. Come on.
What you got?
There's a little debate going, people saying, I'd love to see Bisping fight Yoel Romero next. But then someone jumped on board here and saying if he's going to have one more fight for his career, the perfect ending would be Vitor in London.
He gets his revenge.
In London.
I like that better.
Messed up his eye.
I like that better.
And now USADA's on board.
I would be curious to see how Bisping feels about that, though. I almost feel like he would. I mean, obviously, he can go one of two ways, but he would either say, yeah, I want that redemption, or he could be like, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with him. Like, screw him. He cheated. He's a cheater. I'm not trying to fight guys. You know, whatever.
Right.
So.
And honestly, that yeah, like that could end up messing with you emotionally too. Like this is the guy that could be a little bit much. I mean, I like it for the storyline, but the reality of preparing for somebody who literally changed the structure of your face and your whole
If every morning you woke up and looked in the mirror and you saw something that somebody did to you, he probably thinks about him a lot. So
if you could fight him clean, though, wouldn't that be intriguing?
Yeah, I think so. But you don't know how in his head is he thinking. It's a lot of times like when people.
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know.
I think Mike would win, but. I don't know, that's a lot. But the Romero fight, I mean, obviously those two have bad blood. And, you know, Romero was in town, I'll get you, boy. He was with Masvidal.
Yeah.
And
I saw.
Since Masvidal and Michael had their little thing before. I love you, boy. No, I mean, I know obviously there's a lot of history between Romero and Mike. So I would like to, I guess I would like to see that too. Honestly, I'd have to really look at things and see who, if Mike were to have one more fight. But I guess those two fights do have the most sort of storylines.
This popped into my head. I don't even know if it makes sense, but what about Weidman, Bisping?
Yeah.
Because now Bisping's going to be like number 1 or 2, and Weidman's what, 3 or something?
And that's actually a really good point that you brought that up, because Michael has, over the years, made no bones about calling Chris Weidman the weakest middleweight champion, right? So he's always picked on him, saying he had the easiest run to the title or whatever, and then he had the easiest, he just had it easy. On the flip side of that, I was working with Chris this weekend, really nice guy, and Chris will say the same thing about Michael. He's like, look at who did he fight as a champion? He fought number 14, Dan Henderson. You know, he fought, now he's fighting George St-Pierre, but you know, he's fighting people that aren't the real contenders, and yada yada. So there is legit beef between those two. I think that's a good fight. I could see that. Yeah.
And for each of them, I think they're both the easier fight, because would Michael rather fight Weidman or Yoel Romero? I think he'd rather fight Weidman. And the same thing for Weidman. For sure. If he could fight Bisping and that catapult him up the rankings more, then I think he would prefer that fight as well.
That's a good fight. Also, Derek Brunson is in there now, making noise, doing really, really well. Yeah. You know, we'll see what happens with Kelvin Gastelum and Anderson Silva. You know, there are some fights out there, but yeah, actually Weidman Bisping would have some heat because they don't really like each other. And Chris had to say he didn't have to say nice things about Michael, but it was kind of funny this weekend hearing him talk about Mike. But he made sure he got the digs in about really he's like the only reason is because I got hurt for my rematch fight with Luke, and he got to come in here and land that lucky punch. And then once he landed that lucky punch, you know, he hasn't really been defending against the right guys. So I would watch that fight.
Be a good fight.
I would watch that fight.
The only last little conversations that have been going on is who does Rose fight next? She's already wiped out a lot of the division.
Well, but the Carolina one was a split decision loss. She hasn't fought Gedalia and Andrade and stuff. I mean,
she hasn't fought either of them. Yeah. So there's actually a bunch of fights. I mean.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Because I think we're talking about Rose, so I think she should fight Joanna again. See, Joanna
deserves an immediate rematch.
Yeah, Joanna.
But Cody doesn't, because Joanna, as dominant as she was, if she wanted that, I think that makes sense.
I think Joanna gets the rematch. She controlled the division. She earns a rematch. If Rose gets through her a second time, then you've got both of those fights. Jessica Andrade. I can say that. And then you've got what's her name?
Yeah, well, Gedalia lost to Andrade, but Karolina Kowalkiewicz just won another fight again. But you know, Rose has already fought Karolina. But there are some things there. And also, listen, we don't know.
Got a guy yelling Andrade.
We also don't know. Joanna might say, "Screw it, I'm going to be a 25er."
Oh, Joanna, you talking about?
Yeah, she could be a 25er. Because before she was talking about, I want to get both belts. Then at the post-fight press conference, she said, well, now that I've lost my belt here, I think I want to come back and get my belt back at 15 before I go to 25. But, you know, stuff changes, things change. We're going to have an Ultimate Fighter winner. There was a rumor that it was going to be Paige Van Zandt fighting the person from the Ultimate Fighter for the inaugural 25 title or whatever.
Paige.
But I don't think that's really happening, because even in the post-fight press conference, Dana seemed to be refuting that. So I don't know if that's really happening, but obviously we will get a champion after the end of the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. I think there are options for Joanna, but yeah, I think a rematch in that case is warranted.
Agreed.
All right, I think that's about it.
Oh, that's what we got, guys.
Epic. It was epic.
Awesome card.
Epic.
Surpasses any other cards you can think of in recent history that surpassed that one?
Yeah, because I just feel like there was, even just like we said, from the Amin Zahabi, the Hamos knockout of Zahabi, like from ding ding round one bell, you know, first fight, like there was so much like, oh.
So you think this card?
I mean, granted, I have to really go back and like look at whatever.
No, but I mean,
but in terms of how many finishes there were. 3 titles changing hands, that's never happened before on a single night, and just so much, oh snap, like even like you said, even the OSP one, you thought that fight was done, just about played out.
You know what else was epic?
So too. What's that?
5 Octagon girls.
Did we?
There was 5. And,
oh wait,
guys, for those that missed them,
as we say goodbye, let's see how the girls say goodbye at the weigh-in.
I didn't get to see it. Let's see here.
Hello, Brooklyn. Right, so there's Brooklyn Ariani. Then we also had Brittany.
And then here's Brittany.
And Chrissy.
Yep.
Okay.
And Vanessa.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Although Brooklyn didn't make it into the program.
Wait, which one's Brooklyn?
The chocolate girl.
Yeah, that's not her right there, though, right?
Yeah. She didn't make it into the official program for the fights.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brooklyn.
She didn't even get on the crease in the middle. She didn't even get she didn't even get on the crappy part of the crease. She looks good in person. That's a she's
what was I gonna say? We were wrapping it up. Oh, what was I gonna say about this last card? You know, when you think about big fights in the recent memory, you think about 200 to 205. 200 to me was a big letdown, and 205 was awesome. But I think as far as entertaining, I paid for this fight. I had to pay for this fight. I paid for this fight, and I remember thinking, damn it, I wanted to just like get a free fight or something. I usually just figure some way out to watch it, and I watched it at home by myself, paid for it, and I was like, damn, that was well worth the money.
But it was worth the money, and I think you know last year, yeah, because you had Joanna and Carolina, that fight went to a decision. Then obviously we know we had the majority draw situation with Tyron and Steven, which was weird, and then Connor being champ was good, but it didn't, because there wasn't all this oh snap, oh snap, oh snap. You know, I think this was definitely better than 205, and yeah, I agree with you. 200 was like, we got Anderson and DC like. What? This was pretty.
And not a lot of fights fell out.
Everybody made weight, and they made it too, except for Patrick Cummins.
So you know what? I'm gonna say it. This was the best card we've ever had, because normally on these big events, not only do they over promote them and then they under deliver, but there's always 2 or 3 fights that don't work or somebody doesn't make weight. Everybody, the fights worked out. OSP filled in. Yeah. But it ended up being a better. We couldn't have got a better result out of it in terms of a fun fight or a fun finish, and everybody made weight. So yeah, awesome card.
It was awesome. Okay, so on social media, I'm KB Heat on Instagram, Karyn Bryant on Twitter. We got Karyn Bryant channel on YouTube. So there's a lot of stuff from this week on the Karyn Bryant channel, but then there's also a ton of it on the MMA Heat channel on YouTube, or just go to MMAHeat.com and you can find it all there.
And nothing's changed with me, guys, at Alan Jouban across the board.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.
And if you missed any of it, just go. It'll be here in a couple minutes.
It'll be around.
See ya.
Peace, guys.